Researchers followed 567 cardiac arrests across 25 hospitals. Only 53 patients survived, and 28 were healthy enough to be interviewed. 11 of those 28 remembered something connected to the cardiac arrest. 6 described full near-death experiences, leaving their bodies, traveling somewhere else, reliving their lives, and feeling like they had reached home before being brought back.
It's incredible.
And it gets even more interesting. But here's the part that changes everything. Some patients showed organized brain activity as late as 35 to 60 minutes into CPR. And some reports are even harder to explain. Patients have described vivid and occasional accurate events from periods when their brain activity was absent. So
That's amazing.
The current scientific position on consciousness is that it's somehow formulated by our brain.
I think it's less now, though, right?
There's no way anybody who's realistic could claim that nowadays.
So, you know what's incredible about this? I always thought, well, of course, in our brain, that's where all our consciousness and thoughts are going on. And I think it's because we're taught that, right?
Yeah.
Do you know that in ancient Egypt, they thought the heart was the source of thoughts.
So cardiac arrest is the stopping of beating of your heart.
Yeah.
So if you're in a cardiac arrest, you're like pretty much dead. You could still have brain activity, but it goes even further than that. So people have had experiences and memories and been able to articulate what was going on, even in the room, like even here on Earth,
Right.
not just outside, like having a near-death experience where you're going to meet God or you're in heaven or an afterlife type place. People have even been able to experience and see what's going on around here. So what does that say about where your memories are stored if your brain is inactive,
Right.
unable to work, and then you are able to still remember what's going on?
I think your brain has something to do with it, but obviously there's way more going on here.
It seems like your brain's almost like the harness for consciousness, like it's like where it lives in. Maybe we're completely wrong by that, though. Maybe that's just because we've been taught that that's what creates consciousness,
Yes.
is what our brain is doing.
What about patients who have had part of their brain removed and should not have been really the same afterwards, but they are the same? They can still think, they can still reason. What is that? Because they shouldn't be able to if they have part of their brain removed.
See, that's interesting because there's also, I think there's also people who have had parts of their brain removed who are a little bit different, or there's like memories that are lost. So it's such a weird concept, but to say that the brain is fully responsible for consciousness, you'd have to be a fool to believe that nowadays.
No.
Like with the evidence that people have from different studies and different experiences, like there's no way that could be the case.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It makes me believe that we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg kind of thing. We're just, because we see and we hear and everything is around our head, that we feel like we're in our head, but there's way more. What about people who have gut instincts? What is that? I don't even know why I feel this way, but I kind of know something about this person, or I can judge that there's something going on here that's not quite right, that kind of thing. And you're not consciously thinking about it, but you have, well, they say you feel it in your gut.
Yeah. Or also, like, how does it translate through different living organisms? Like dogs have a sense of consciousness. They have a sort of consciousness, and they've got an extra gut feeling that humans don't have. They can actually understand, or like they can tell when somebody's not right.
Remember Coda?
Yeah.
She was like, there were some people she just did not like.
Yeah.
And she was scary if she didn't like you. But uh, she would come and look at me, and I know we had a connection. I
Yeah.
know it was like looking at you practically, although
Hmm.
you're a human, but but I could tell. And I could tell it when she wanted to tell me something, and then I had to kind of guess, and then I'd get it right eventually. But it was consciousness. She had it. I know.
Yeah. So, but what is developing that, and is it completely separate from our bodies? I don't think it's completely separate from our bodies. I think that there's a sense that our brains do help with things, but that can lead us into our next topic as well.
But the thing is, when you die, that consciousness doesn't go away.
Yeah. And in fact, from all the near-death experiences I've had, it only increases.
It
It's
it
like our bodies are only a limiter of our consciousness, and then once we die, it expands, and there's more. People describe having way more senses.
yes.
They can smell sound or hear colors or different things of that sort.
You know, there's I forget the name of it, but some people when they listen to music see colors.
Hmm.
Different notes represent certain colors to them. Now, green, and it's all because vibrations, right? So, green, I forget what the number of vibrations is, but A, if you play an A note, if you go up the harmonic series and keep doubling it, it will turn into the frequency that's green. And some people, they have this
Color.
uncanny ability to be able to see notes as colors.
So, do you think that's part of their brains? Like, if you studied their brain, maybe that we could actually figure that out.
Yeah, it's just like people with perfect pitch. Like some people, they're gifted with this, and also maybe they were taught it as a child. They say you can't learn it as an adult, but it's something that's I don't even know what it is. How do people have that, or how do people see notes? I don't know.
I don't know either, but this can take us into our next, I guess, kind of topic, which is some people with severe dementia suddenly return to complete clarity shortly before they die.
Wow.
They recognize their families, recover old memories, and speak clearly after months or even years of being unable to communicate.
Wow.
So they did a study on this, and one study collected 124 reported cases. In more than 80% of those cases, the person reportedly regained memory, orientation, and responsive speech. More than two-thirds died within 2 days of that episode, and only 6% survived longer than a week.
So what do you think that is?
I don't know, but
It's almost like they're given a chance to kind of come back here to say goodbye or something before they go.
yeah.
Like, I don't know.
But it can't be like the brain recovering itself because the brain's still messed up, yet their consciousness somehow is back with them. It's almost like they're there's no way that the brain could be responsible for consciousness, or maybe it is to a certain extent, but then like right before death there's some way that they're able to be conscious again and understand what's going on.
Yeah, it makes no sense other than they're given this privilege to maybe kind of say their last goodbyes or something.
Yeah. And it goes even deeper. For years, most of the evidence came from families and caregivers, so critics could argue that grief or emotion distorted what they remembered. But in 2025, researchers directly observed people with advanced dementia over 539 recorded sessions. They validated 9 lucid episodes in 3 different people. The consistent change was a sudden return of meaningful speech. So
Wow.
when their brains are completely like lost and are not working correctly, there's something that allows them to be still conscious and like have their brain work functionally the same, or their consciousness at least work functionally the same right before death.
It makes me wonder if dementia and that type of thing, if it's that people become detached somewhat from their physical bodies. Their consciousness is still there, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not quite there. And then maybe right before their consciousness mirrors itself to the brain again, or I don't know.
Well, yeah,
This is so confusing to
just
me.
an idea that I might have that just came up while you were explaining that is maybe their consciousness is somewhere else, but the brain is responsible for a portion of that consciousness. So when they are having these dementia, or when they do have dementia, it's like we're only getting what the brain is able to produce, which is just such little like things like them repeating things, not recognizing people, but just understanding, oh, that's a person, but I don't know. And then right before they die, their consciousness is back engaging with their brain normally, and they're back to normal for a little bit.
It's so strange.
Like if their brains had not repaired themselves, what does that sudden return suggest about where their memories and identity is stored?
Yeah, I don't think it's physical. I don't think it's. I don't know.
Science today has no idea where memories are stored.
Right.
And we understand so little of how our brain even works today.
And the thing for me too, I don't think of consciousness as thinking. I think because you can think and you can reason, and AI can reason, right? But consciousness is the sense of who you are internally. You're sitting here looking at me. You have a perspective that is uniquely you,
Mm-hmm.
that you are watching, that you are interpreting. And regardless of what you think, because we've been shown that machines can think, but the sense of consciousness is a whole nother thing, I believe. That's my
Yeah.
belief.
I mean, when you think, like you described earlier, it feels like we are in our heads. Like, if you had to put a point of like, who are you and where are you? I'd say, like, I'd point at my, like, I'm up here somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the brain is a harness for our consciousness and something that can control the rest of our body, but our consciousness itself is something completely different.
Yeah.
So being like having our consciousness inhabit our brains makes it feel like we're up here because that's who we are.
Yeah.
Like our consciousness is who we are, like you said, and then our brain is just a almost like bridge between our consciousness and our bodies, so we can still control our bodies, move our hands, and react and move, but it's like just a harness for our
Yeah.
consciousness.
Yeah. It very well could be. Boy, it sure makes me wonder.
That honestly makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. And it's crazy how scientists really don't know what it
They
is.
don't know anything about it. It's like we
No.
don't know where our memories are stored. That should be something, but that also makes me think because I've heard stories of people having brain surgery or like even brain surgeons while operating on people. Somehow they can operate on people while they're still awake, and like they'll point to like, or they'll like touch their brain in certain areas, and then I don't know if they have memories flash before them. I feel like I've heard that, but they do have like spasms or something.
Yeah.
So the brain is definitely connected to the body in some way. But for memories and stuff, that's where things get so complicated and so different, because if our consciousness is what harnesses our memories, then how do people have memory loss through any kind of injury? Like if you get a head injury, you've heard people get memory loss
Oh,
from that kind
yeah.
of stuff. So how does that correlate? Maybe our consciousness still has everything in it, but like our brain is just less able to harness our consciousness.
What's crazy is that there's been people who have had injuries that have resulted the other way, where suddenly they have an ability that they did not have before,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is more rare, of course.
Yeah.
But it really makes you wonder, what is this? Why would that happen?
This also connects to the next topic I wanted to talk about
Sure.
regarding consciousness.
Okay.
The University of Virginia has spent decades investigating more than 2,500 cases of children who remember previous lives. The children usually begin talking between 2 and 5 years old. They sometimes describe names, families, homes, occupations, and how they died. then the memories usually disappear around age 7. Some children also develop fears connected to the death they described. A child claiming to have drowned might have an extreme fear of water without experiencing anything in his life that would cause that.
I I wonder if it's from them, not necessarily previous lives, because I believe the Bible says, it's appointed man once to live and
Yeah.
once to die.
Well, yeah, I
Uh,
don't think it says once to live. I think it says once to die, right?
yeah, I
I know it
have to
says
read
once
it
to
again.
die, but I don't know
Yeah,
about yeah.
but so I think this could be explained by them hearing stories, by them watching TV, and I'm not saying that that's why, but a, with a little kid, they're just developing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, this
so
one's a lot harder to understand or to explain, especially from the Christian worldview. Um,
mhm.
the easiest explanation is that families find a dead person afterward and unconsciously reshape the child's story to create a match. So, researchers examined cases where the children's statements were written down before anyone identified the dead person they might have been talking about. They had 33 cases like that. One extraordinary case is a boy who lived in southern Turkey described being an Armenian Christian from Istanbul. That man had lived 850 kilometers away and died 50 years before the boy was born. The boy's statements were recorded first, and then later investigators found the man's home and confirmed many of the details the boy described. There was no known connection between the two families of the boy and the man who died in Istanbul.
They checked. They went back and looked at genealogy and made sure that
See,
the man.
I don't know the exact details on that, and that's where your mind would first go to. It's like you would think that maybe the parents, but for a kid being so young, describing these things as to happen to them, it doesn't seem like parents are going to have their kid lie for that reason.
Right. Well, I don't believe in reincarnation, right?
Yeah.
But I do believe that RNA, which is kind of like DNA, but it has ancestral ties, and you can have certain phobias or the fear of height or whatever, um, that is specific to your bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, maybe he has some kind of recollection through his RNA or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean that's a theory just as good as any other. Because yeah, you're right. There's people who have phobias about random things that they can't even explain why they have a phobia for it. But I think that is a really good. It's a really interesting idea as well, and it's a really good hypothesis. Is maybe at some point during their bloodline, somebody had experienced, for example, arachnophobia. If someone has arachnophobia,
Right.
maybe somebody had experienced some terrible experience involving spiders, whether they're crawling through a cave and then thousands of spiders are all around them, which I've
Right.
seen videos of today, or anything like that. That would be horrifying, and maybe it can ingrain that those memories can ingrain themselves in your DNA or RNA, and then your later generations may have that same type of RNA that just makes them prone to be horrified of spiders.
Right. Especially if it was really traumatic,
Yeah.
then I could see maybe they're them passing those memories on.
Yeah, but then that also would indicate that somehow our bodies are responsible in some way for memories being stored. Um, or maybe it's not even a memory, but it's just such a traumatic experience that your DNA, yeah, maybe your memories are still stored in your consciousness, but having such traumatic experiences and memories can translate that into your body being like the just a harness for your consciousness. Maybe it could be affected by such extreme things happening in your consciousness.
And it comes out almost as instincts,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, because some people are much more afraid of spiders or of water or of heights, of closed in spaces. I mean, there's all these. Maybe someone in your past had that happen. And where they were, it was so traumatic they kind of passed it on. I don't know.
There's more to this, though. Some children also have birthmarks or birth defects corresponding to wounds on the person they claimed to remember. And in some cases, researchers compared those marks with actual post-mortem records. That also seems more on the side of like the parents or somebody figured out how they died and then they made a story around it. But if we forget that idea of it, maybe there is even more to what we were discussing a second ago with your DNA capturing these kind of
RNA.
Your RNA capturing these kinds of extreme traumatic experiences that your consciousness is going through. It could leave an imprint in just your RNA.
Yeah, it could. But this is way above me. I mean, I wonder about this. I think it's interesting to talk about, but I think even experts don't know this stuff.
Well, of course. No, I think nobody knows this stuff.
Right.
But it's interesting that people and science claims to have an idea that our consciousness is formed or created from our brains without any real evidence to support that. And in fact, there's so much evidence to support the contrary. With no brain activities, like we were discussing earlier, people are able to have memories as to what's going on around them. And when they come to, those memories are still a part of them, but their brain had no activity during those times.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I'd like to get Bruce on our channel, do an interview with him. My friend died on the operating table, came back, explained some pretty crazy stuff about what he experienced. It happens all the time. It really does.
I mean, what was it? 6 out of, let me see.
So 11
of the 28 people who survived were...
So half of them, essentially, almost.
Had some connected or something connected to the cardiac arrest. So they had some like kind of memory or something. But 6 of them out of the 28 described full near-death experiences, full experiences of an afterlife, of meeting other beings, of a life review, of going somewhere they didn't know of before, and feeling more home than when they did on Earth and when they came back. And I've heard many stories of NDEs, and people say almost that they didn't want to come back. They said, like, I don't want to go back to that planet or that life I was living before. I would rather stay here where it's actually pleasant.
Right, right.
And I don't have to go through trials. And
well, this is what my friend Bruce said about his, and we'll talk to him probably soon, hopefully.
Yeah. How would you investigate something like the reincarnation thing without assuming reincarnation, but also not dismissing the evidence? So I think we already kind of did that with your RNA being a extreme influence on how people's consciousness is experiencing the world around them.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is, instincts, somehow learning to walk, all the things that people do when they're babies that are just naturally human. And a lot of it's, I think, inherited through RNA, DNA probably too. But how to explain? I'd like to know what specifics these people have as far as their belief in reincarnation. Why do they? What is it that they say that they couldn't know that would lend credence to this theory?
And just because they have even memories that they wouldn't normally be able to obtain from their life experience about somebody else's life experience who died previously, that jump to reincarnation it's a big jump. Like, I don't think that proves reincarnation. If anything, it's just an interesting fact that needs investigating more. I think we've repeated and exhausted the fact that we have no idea what consciousness is, and the idea that there's so many really strange things happening shows that it doesn't necessarily, or it's definitely not created independently by the brain, but maybe the brain has some sort of influence on it. Like in the way that the Bible talks about us and our fleshly desires. It's like being in this body, having our consciousness in this body affects our brains in some way.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It affects our consciousness in some way. Sorry.
I think the whole thing about, and I'm going to go down a little bit of a different path here. The whole thing about reincarnation is people feel, oh, I will come back as this, or or they believe that they used to be some favorite. What's funny is everyone that says they're reincarnated and they remember their past, they're usually like Alexander the Great or someone. Not just some
Some random
yeah,
person.
and so I believe that it's a dangerous path to go down because, oh, we got several chances at this. And the Bible makes it very, very clear. We got one chance. We got one life. And I would think that the devil would be really happy for people to believe in reincarnation, and probably would, if he could whisper in your ear, no, it's probably true, because then you're not, yeah, you're accountable, but you got extra chances, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't. That's what the Bible teaches. It's one time.
But it's also strange to think that people believe that reincarnation doesn't mean that you're going to come back as another human
No.
necessarily, but you could come back as a tree. Like,
Yeah, dolphin.
what is that about? Does that mean they believe that there's some sort of consciousness level in trees?
You know what? I believe there is, but I don't think it's human consciousness.
Yeah.
And there's a whole idea about a cosmic consciousness of which we all are part of. I don't know if I buy that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But trees, plants, other, animals, they, I think they do have a sense of consciousness.
Yeah.
I, look at Avatar, that big tree. I mean, and all the root system. I'm not saying that's true, but it's. I do think there is some form of consciousness in living things, maybe even non-living things. If you look at some pretty interesting experiments, like the double slit experiment.
Yeah. That almost makes it feel like it's just a design of the world that.
Yeah, code.
Yeah. And what's to say it's not? I think there's honestly so much evidence that points to that being a valid thesis. Is that the word? A valid theory of how
Thesis
things are
is correct, yeah.
working. And I think it's what would even be wrong about that? It's like if God decided to create the world, why is it wrong, or why would it be wrong to think that that's how he decided to create it? I'll make it like a video game almost. It's like a super, super advanced video game. It's like how in a video game, if you're not looking at something, it's not there because it doesn't need to be generated so that the computer or the game can run whatever it's doing.
I agree. The stakes are a lot higher than in a video game.
And who cares if it is a simulation type thing that's going on?
It's still.
We still have.
We still have to make decisions.
We still feel pain. We still have emotions.
Yep.
It's very real to us in a way that who cares if it is a simulation.
And then that would kind of go along with the theory that maybe when you do die, or when your consciousness leaves your body, suddenly everything is, more real, seems more real.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it says right now we see as through a glass darkly, and then we will see face to face.
Yeah.
I think we're clouded in our current reality. I mean, I'd like to be as alert as possible, but I'm.
The more I grow up, the more I realize how little not only I know, but everybody knows. Like nobody really has even an idea of what's going on. Even the top scientists are trying to put things together, but it's so obvious that we have we're just throwing darts at a wall and
Yeah,
hoping something sticks.
I had a teacher once, a guitar teacher, that said the more he learned, the more he realized the less he knew. And he goes, "Look at me now. I hardly know anything." So anyway.